Number 3. Vladimir Putin's assassination. Hello and thanks for joining us for this episode of Paranormally Listed. We hope that your new year is off to a great start. In this video we'll be talking about the writing of the seer Nostradamus. Michel de Nostradamus was born in December 1503 in the Kingdom of France. In 1555 he published Les Prophéties, which contain predictions for the future. For nearly 500 years, people have been interpreting his writings to see if they can provide insight into our future. This video has 3 predictions that may come to fruition in 2024. But before we get into that... Okay, pop quiz time. What's this ad read going to be about? It's not a VPN. No, it's not a new set of headphones. It's an awesome game I've been playing for years. I'm talking hundreds of champions to collect, a super in-depth RPG battle system, amazing graphics, intense PvE boss battles. Sounds pretty good, right? Come on, let me tell you more. I've been playing Raid Shadow Legends for years now. It's one game I never get bored of because it's fun, and there's always events, challenges, and characters being added. Anytime I get a new phone, it's one of the first things I download. Recently, Raid Shadow Legends introduced something new, and I'm incredibly excited by it. They are called Mythical Champions, which is higher than Legendary Champions. They're basically 2 champions in one, because you use a special feature called Metamorph that allows you to switch between the 2 forms. I love it because you get to be creative with your champion and use what you have to transform. If you want one of these awesome mythical champions, they are available by using the brand new Primal Shards in the portal. But I have to warn you to be careful when using artifacts, accessories, masteries, and blessings, because both forms use them. If you like to tailor your playstyle, you'll love mythical champions because they are the most versatile champions that have ever been seen in Raid. Make your champion awesome by creating synergies across both forms. The excitement of the holidays is finished, but there's still tons of fun to be had at Raid Shadow Legends. They have added their biggest new feature since the amazing Doom Tower. The Cursed City has over 100 stages to beat. Some of these levels are intense because you'll have to take on 2 raid bosses at the same time. But it's worth it because if you complete the levels, you can get one of those amazing mythical champions. So make sure you get Raid Shadow Legends this holiday season because you don't want to miss out on this amazing, fun festival game. But there's more. New players use my link or scan the QR code right there to get a free starter pack with this cool in-game loot. Once you're in and crushing your enemies, come find me under the name C Listed and join my clan, Paranormally Listed, and we'll be legends together. Check out Raid Shadow Legends today. One passage written by Nostradamus reads, "He who during the struggle with steel in the deed of war will have carried off the prize from on greater than he. By night 6 will carry the grudge to his bed. Without armor, he will be surprised suddenly." This has led some people to think that this is about Russian President Vladimir Putin. Putin was born on October 7, 1952, in Leningrad, USSR, which is now St. Petersburg, Russia. After graduating from university, he became a foreign intelligence officer for the KGB. He served for 15 years. In July 1998, he was appointed director of the Federal Security Service, the KGB successor. In 1999, he was appointed prime minister. Later that year, Russian President Boris Yeltsin unexpectedly resigned and appointed Putin as president. In March 2000, there was an election in Russia, and Putin won 53% of the vote. Except for 4 years between 2008 and 2012, when he served as prime minister, Putin has been Russia's president ever since. He has ruled the country with an iron fist. In February 2022, Russian troops invaded neighboring Ukraine. Nearly 2 years later, the invasion is still ongoing. Many experts worldwide think that the invasion was ill-fated and has been a failure. According to polls, many Russians support the invasion, with just 20% opposing it. However, critics point out that the way Russians are oppressed, they are not free to express their opinions, especially if they go against Putin's government. So Putin's struggles with the invasion may lead to him being assassinated. In March 2024, there will be another Russian presidential election. However, their elections are often marred with claims of fraud. So it doesn't take a psychic to predict that Putin will probably win the election again. However, some of Putin's underlings, specifically those who are unhappy with his leadership, may be holding out hope that he won't get elected. But if he does, they may not want to deal with another 6 years of his tyranny. A small group of them could catch him when he's vulnerable, like when he's in bed, and kill him. It would be similar to the assassination of Julius Caesar in 44 BCE by a group of 40 senators, but in this case, it may be a group of just 6 people, as predicted by Nostradamus. Number 2. Famine caused by a tsunami. Before we get into this entry, we want to say that this was written before the deadly Sea of Japan earthquake on January 1st, 2024. We decided to include this entry because it's about a possible famine after a tsunami, and not just a tsunami. We also think it contains possibly important information about the fragility of life. Nostradamus wrote, "Very great famine through pestiferous wave." If, like us, you didn't know what pestiferous means, Merriam-Webster defines it as dangerous to society. Many people believe that this line means a giant tsunami will cause devastating damage, leading to famine. Is this possible? Well, it nearly happened in 2004. On December 26, 2004, there was a 9.1 magnitude earthquake between the Burman and Indian plates, 18 miles below the surface of the Indian Ocean. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, it released the energy equivalent of 23,000 Hiroshima-type atomic bombs. It created waves that reached 167 feet in height. The tsunami slammed into 14 countries. Indonesia was the first and hardest hit. It's estimated that, worldwide, 227,898 people were killed and 1 million people were displaced. Over 130,000 people in Indonesia were killed. The tsunami also caused massive damage to agriculture and infrastructure in those countries. But thanks to the United Nations World Food Program, famines were avoided. But unfortunately, a tsunami could happen again at any time with little warning. It could happen at the Cascadia Fault off the Pacific Northwest in North America. Scientists said that sooner or later there will be a 9.0 magnitude earthquake on the fault line. Within minutes, a wall of water will slam into Northern California, Oregon, Washington, and Vancouver Island in Canada. While it would be devastating to those in the area, most of the United States and Canada would be unaffected, so it's doubtful it would cause a famine. But if a smaller, less prosperous country were to be devastated by a tsunami, they might be in serious trouble. In 2004, the United Nations World Food Program helped avert famines, but they might not be able to do that in the future. According to an Associated Press article published in July 2023, the United Nations has been forced to cut food, cash payments, and assistance to millions of people in many countries because of a crippling funding crisis that has seen its donations plummet by about half as acute hunger is hitting record levels. They require $23 billion a year to assist everyone who needs it. But by July, they had only raised $5 billion. So extra pressure, like an additional million or more people requiring food, may be too much for the World Food Program to handle, which could lead to famine. Unfortunately, this prediction is all too plausible. Number 1. China invading Taiwan. Nostradamus wrote, "After a combat and naval battle, red adversary will become pale with fear, putting the great ocean in dread." This has been interpreted that China will go to war. According to experts, China is most likely to invade Taiwan, which would have significant global implications. Taiwan is an island about 100 miles off the coast of China. While the relationship between China and Taiwan is complicated, here is a simplified version taken from the BBC. Historians believe that Taiwan was first controlled by the Qing dynasty in the 17th century. In 1895, after losing the First Sino-Japanese War, China gave the island to Japan. 50 years later, China regained control of the island after Japan was defeated in World War II. but that same year, China entered the second phase of its civil war. The two factions were the National Government Forces, the Kuomintang, led by Chiang Kai-shek, and the Communist Party led by Mao Zedong. The victors were the Communists, and in 1949 they became the national government and took power in Beijing. They've been in power ever since. Chiang Kai-shek and the Kuomintang went to Taiwan, where they set up a government. China believes that Taiwan is part of its territory because it was originally a Chinese province. Taiwan disagrees and believes it's a sovereign country. They argue that Taiwan was not part of the state when modern China was formed in 1911 and when the People's Republic of China was established in 1949. China and Taiwan have had a contentious relationship for decades. Only 13 countries, including the Vatican, recognize it as a sovereign country. Many countries don't have official diplomatic relationships with Taiwan because of pressure from China. What complicates matters is that Taiwan is an important ally of the United States in that area and is one of their keys to foreign policy in that area. Also, Taiwan is the leading producer of superconductors in the world. 56% of all the world's superconductors are manufactured in Taiwan. Superconductors are used in many technological things like smartphones, computers, and cars. It's also used in aerospace and defense. And if China decides to invade Taiwan, Taiwan is in serious trouble. China's military completely dwarfs Taiwan's. Notably, China has 10 times more ground forces. Importantly, as it applies to Nostradamus' prediction that it will be a naval battle, China's navy is about 8 times larger than Taiwan's. What China may do is create a naval blockade. According to the American think tank, the Atlantic Council, a blockade is the most strategically viable option for the People's Republic of China. The blockade would devastate Taiwan because its economy heavily relies on exports. Another problem is that if China creates a blockade, it would cause a massive disruption in the distribution of superconductors, which would cause a worldwide economic depression. Some experts think that world trade would end. Since Taiwan is an important ally of the United States will have to decide if they want to help Taiwan or stay out of it. Either way, it will have major ramifications. The Policy Institute, Pacific Forum, published a study called The World After Taiwan's Fall. They got perspectives from national security experts from the United States, Australia, Japan, Korea, India, and Europe. The Taipei Times summarized some of the predictions by saying, nuclear weapons would proliferate, global trade would end, the semiconductor industry would be destroyed or come under the control of an expansionist and authoritarian regime. Democracies would face a crisis of legitimacy, and the alliance system developed and led by the U.S. since World War II would be shattered. Should the United States intervene, it would put the world's two greatest superpowers, who spend more on military than any other country, against each other. Obviously, this could have catastrophic consequences. So how likely is a Chinese invasion or blockade? Chinese President Xi Jinping has been very clear that he wants to unify Taiwan with China. As recently as December 2023, at a summit with American President Joe Biden, Xi said that China will eventually do this, but the timing hasn't been decided. However, he said he'd rather do it peacefully than by force. So, if China thinks it's inevitable that they'll take over Taiwan, and Taiwan doesn't want to accept it, it could lead to naval action in 2024. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Please don't forget to check out Raid Shadow Legends. You can download the game by clicking on the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen now. But that's all for today. Thank you again for watching.